Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ERS Horizon, Earth's most advanced research vessel. The massive ship, stretching nearly 2 kilometers in length, represented humanity's finest achievement in space engineering. Its hull gleamed with an array of sensor pods, defense arrays, and research instruments that made it look more like a mobile space station than a traditional spacecraft. "Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez's voice came through the comm system. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system." Chen turned from the star-filled view, her weathered face reflecting decades of space exploration. "Classification. That's the thing, ma'am. It's like nothing we've seen before. The energy pattern suggests technology far beyond our current understanding." Chen smiled. After 15 years of exploring empty systems, they'd finally found what they were looking for: intelligent life. "Bring us in slowly," standard first contact protocols. The Horizon moved with surprising grace for its size, its fusion drives pulsing with carefully controlled power. As they approached the source of the energy signatures, the ship's sensors revealed something extraordinary. A vast network of what appeared to be artificial satellites, each pulsing with brilliant purple energy. "Multiple ships detected," Rodriguez reported, excitement barely contained in his voice. They're beautiful, Admiral." On the main display, sleek vessels appeared, their hulls seeming to shift and flow like liquid metal. They moved with incredible precision, their propulsion systems leaving no visible exhaust. Compared to the practical, heavily armored design of the Horizon, they looked like works of art. "Open all frequencies," Chen ordered. "Let's say hello." Before they could broadcast their greeting, the alien vessels suddenly scattered like startled fish. Energy readings spiked across the sensor displays as the alien ships activated what appeared to be defensive systems. "What just happened?" Chen demanded. Dr. Emily Wong, the ship's cyanoanthropologist, rushed onto the bridge. "Admiral, I think I know. Look at their ship design. All elegance, no visible weapons or armor. Now look at us." Chen understood immediately. The Horizon was built according to humanity's hard-learned lessons about space travel. Every system had multiple redundancies. The hull was thick enough to withstand micrometeorite impacts. Point defense systems covered every angle, ready to vaporize space debris. Power generation could run at 400% of normal requirements in emergencies. To a species that hadn't evolved with humanity's paranoid approach to survival, the Horizon must look like a planet-killing superweapon. "They're broadcasting," Rodriguez announced. It's a warning to their homeworld. They're describing us as the Dark Fleet. They think we're an invasion force." Chen ran her hand through her short gray hair. Humanity's first contact was going sideways because their hosts couldn't understand why anyone would build ships like mobile fortresses just for research. "Send them our first contact package," she ordered. "But add something special. Show them our ship's construction logs. Let them see why we build the way we do. Show them the accidents, the losses, the hard lessons that taught us to never take space for granted." As the data streamed out, the alien vessels slowly ceased their retreat. One of them, slightly larger than the others, moved cautiously forward. "They're responding," Rodriguez said. "Text only. They're asking why we need armor plating thick enough to survive a close-range solar flare." Chen stepped forward, speaking clearly for the translators. "Because we once lost a ship and her crew of 300 to exactly that. We refuse to lose anyone else to the darkness between stars. We come in peace, but we come prepared, not for war, but for survival." There was a long pause before the aliens responded. When they did, their message showed the first glimmer of understanding. "You fear space itself more than you fear other species." "Not fear," Chen corrected. "Respect. Space is the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced. Every ship we build reflects that respect." The alien vessel moved closer, its flowing hull catching the light of Proxima Centauri. "Perhaps," came their reply, "we have much to learn from each other. Your respect for space has led you to create things we never imagined possible." Chen smiled. First contact hadn't gone quite as planned, but they were making progress. "We would be honored to share our knowledge," she responded, "and to learn from you as well. Shall we begin?" As the massive horizon held position near the elegant alien vessel, two very different approaches to conquering the final frontier prepared to find common ground. Humanity's first steps into a larger galaxy had begun not with war or fear, but with mutual understanding of a simple truth: space was challenge enough without making enemies of each other. The conference room aboard the ERS Horizon had been specially modified for this moment. The environmental controls adjusted the atmosphere and temperature to match the alien representative's homeworld specifications, creating a purple-tinted mist that swirled around the ceiling. Dr. Emily Wong sat across from three representatives of what they now knew to be called the Luminary Collective. Their biosuits gleamed with the same flowing metallic texture as their ships, making them look like living mercury. The transparent faceplates revealed faces that seemed almost crystalline, with faceted eyes that reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. "Your vessel," the lead representative, first speaker Lyra, began, her words translated by the ship's AI, "contains enough power generation capability to sustain a small colony. Yet you use this for a single ship's operations." Emily nodded, pulling up a holographic display of the Horizon's power grid. "Space is unforgiving." First speaker: "We learned early that having excess power capacity can mean the difference between life and death." She brought up historical footage that made her throat tighten. The Challenger Io disaster of 2157. A solar storm overloaded their primary and secondary power systems. The crew survived for 3 days on emergency power before. She didn't need to finish. The luminary representatives' crystalline faces dimmed noticeably, their natural bioluminescence responding to their emotions. "But your solution seems excessive," second speaker Varen interjected. "Our ships utilize the quantum fabric of space-time itself. We require minimal power for maximum efficiency." Admiral Chen, who had been quietly observing, leaned forward. "That's fascinating technology, and we'd love to learn more. But humanity's path to the stars has been marked by sacrifice. Every redundancy, every backup system, every thick armor plate represents a lesson written in blood." The third luminary, designated as Science Observer Kell, raised what appeared to be a data crystal. "We've analyzed your ship's construction. The materials alone would be enough to build 50 of our vessels. The resource expenditure seems illogical." Emily pulled up another display, this one showing the Horizon's construction process. "This ship was built to explore the unknown, to push beyond what we thought possible. Yes, we could build smaller ships. Yes, we could be more efficient with our resources. But every time we tried that approach in our early space age, we lost people. Good people." The luminary representatives conferred among themselves, their crystalline features catching the purple light in complex patterns. Finally, first speaker Lyra turned back to the humans. "Your species intrigues us," she said. "You approach space travel like preparing for war, yet you seek peace. You build ships that could withstand supernovas, yet you use them for scientific research. You carry weapons that could shatter moons, yet you haven't once powered them up since we met." Admiral Chen smiled. "Space itself is challenge enough." First speaker: "We don't need to make it harder by fighting each other. Every weapon you see is a shield first. Every armor plate is a guarantee that our people will come home. Every backup system is a promise to the families of our crew." Science Observer Kell's features brightened suddenly. "You're over-engineering. It's not about power. It's about responsibility." "Exactly," Emily confirmed. "We build our ships this way not because we can, but because we must. The lives of our crews are worth every resource we invest." First speaker Lyra stood, her biosuit rippling with changing patterns of light. "We came to this meeting concerned about the military implications of your vessel. We leave understanding something far more important about humanity. You don't build to intimidate. You build to protect. Admiral Chen rose as well. And you've shown us that there are other ways to approach the challenges of space. Perhaps together, we can find a balance between our methods. Yes, Lyra agreed. We have much to teach each other. Your determination is admirable, even if your methods seem extreme to us. We would like to propose an exchange of knowledge. As they began discussing the details of cultural and technological exchange, Emily noticed something remarkable. The luminary representatives had gradually moved their chairs closer to the humans, their initial fear replaced by genuine curiosity. Outside the conference room windows, their sleek ships now floated serenely alongside the massive horizon, no longer keeping their distance. First contact hadn't just succeeded. It had opened the door to something greater. Humanity's overbuilt ships, their excessive precautions, and their uncompromising commitment to crew safety hadn't just kept their people alive. It had earned them the respect of a civilization that had mastered the quantum fabric of space itself. The diplomatic dance was ending, and a new partnership was beginning. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter with the promise of what humans and luminary might achieve together. Captain Maya Patil of the ERS Horizon stood in awe within the central chamber of the luminary vessel Star Weaver. The walls pulsed with living light, and what seemed like liquid metal flowed through transparent conduits, powering systems she could barely comprehend. But what truly caught her attention was the holographic display showing the history of luminary space exploration. Our first ventures beyond our atmosphere were catastrophic. Science observer Kell explained, his crystalline features dimming slightly at the memory. We lost many bright souls to the void before we learned to navigate through quantum fields, rather than brute force our way through space. Maya watched as the hologram showed early luminary ships, surprisingly similar to humanity's first crewed rockets, dissolving in the harsh environment of space. You chose to focus on avoiding danger rather than armoring against it, she observed. Yes, first speaker Lyra joined them, her biosuit shimming with patterns that the humans had learned indicated deep thought. We learned to bend space itself, to flow with the quantum currents rather than fight them. Your species chose to build walls against the void. We chose to become one with it. The hologram shifted to show modern luminary ships, their elegant designs taking advantage of natural space phenomena that human sensors were only beginning to detect. Meanwhile, in another part of the Star Weaver, human engineers worked alongside luminary technicians, both sides learning from each other's radically different approaches to space travel. Admiral Chen has granted permission to share our early flight logs, Maya said, transferring data through the newly established quantum link between their ships, including our mistakes. The luminary representatives watched in silence as scenes from humanity's space race played out before them. The triumphs and tragedies, the costly lessons, the gradual evolution from primitive rockets to the fortress-like vessels of today. Their crystalline faces shifted through various colors of bioluminescence, expressing emotions that the human observers were just beginning to understand. Your species, third speaker Varen noted, joining the group, treats space like an enemy to be defeated, yet you also seek to understand it. This contradiction fascinates us. Maya smiled. Not an enemy, speaker Varen. More like a strict teacher. Space shows no mercy, but it also holds no malice. Every challenge it presents is an opportunity to learn, to grow stronger. The conversation was interrupted by an alert from both ships' sensor systems. A massive solar flare was building in Proxima Centauri, larger than any previously recorded in the system. Our quantum fields will protect us, Lyra stated calmly, but Maya noticed a slight flicker of concern in her crystalline features. The horizon can extend its radiation shields around both vessels, Maya offered. Your quantum technology is incredible, but perhaps this is a moment for redundancy. There was a brief pause as the luminary leaders consulted through their neural network. Then, surprisingly, they agreed. As the solar flare approached, the horizon's massive shield generators spun up to maximum power, creating a bubble of protection around both ships. The luminary vessel's quantum fields added another layer of defense, the two technologies working in harmony for the first time. The flare washed over them, its power enough to have scored unprotected ships clean of life. But within the combined shield bubble, both crews worked calmly at their stations, protected by the merger of human determination and luminary ingenuity. Perhaps, Kell observed as the danger passed, there is wisdom in both our approaches. Your overwhelming force and our subtle manipulation of quantum fields complement each other well. Maya nodded, watching as the combined shield data scrolled across her tablet. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone. Your finesse, our resilience. A partnership, Lyra concluded, her biosuit glowing with patterns that indicated pleasure. But more than that, a new way forward for both our species. As human and luminary crew members continued their exchange of knowledge, the stars seemed to witness a profound moment in the history of both civilizations. The humans were learning that not every problem required overwhelming force to solve, while the luminary were discovering that sometimes the most elegant solution was simply to build something strong enough to withstand any challenge. In the ship's mess hall later that day, humans and luminary shared their first meal together, their different approaches to food preparation becoming yet another source of fascinated discussion. As Maya watched a young human engineer trying to explain the concept of dessert to a bewildered luminary scientist, she realized that their differences weren't obstacles, they were opportunities. Every misunderstanding, every contrast in their approaches was a chance to grow stronger together. The cultural crossroads they had reached wasn't just about space travel anymore. It was about finding the balance between strength and subtlety, between protection and adaptation, between human determination and luminary grace. And in that balance lay the promise of a future neither species could have achieved alone. The warning came without fanfare, a simple anomaly reading on the quantum sensors of the Star Weaver. Within seconds, both human and luminary crews were mobilizing as the full scope of the threat became clear. Multiple micro-singularities forming, Science Observer Kell reported, his crystalline features pulsing with urgent light patterns. They're tearing through the local space-time fabric. Admiral Chen stood on the Horizon's bridge, watching as dark spots appeared in space around their ships, each one a tiny gravitational maw threatening to shred anything that came too close. Status of the Star Weaver. Their quantum fields are holding, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, but they're having trouble maintaining stability. These singularities are disrupting their space-time manipulation technologies. The luminary vessel's elegant form wavered as another cluster of micro-singularities formed nearby. Their advanced technology, usually so effective at navigating space's dangers, was being overwhelmed by the sheer violence of the phenomenon. First speaker, Chen called through the quantum link. The Horizon's gravitational stabilizers can create a safe zone, but we'll need to get closer. Impossible, Lyra responded, her voice tight with strain. The gravitational forces between our ships would tear us apart before we could establish a stable link. Chen looked at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. Not if we extend our structural integrity field to encompass both vessels. Rodriguez, divert power from the weapon systems. All of it. Admiral. First speaker Lyra's voice carried clear concern. Your weapons are your last line of defense. You would leave yourself vulnerable. Those weapons exist to protect life, Chen replied firmly. Right now, that's exactly what they'll do, just not in the way we originally designed them. As the Horizon's massive power core redirected energy from its weapon systems, the ship's structural integrity field began to expand. The space between the two vessels shimmed as human technology fought against the gravitational forces threatening to crush both ships. Quantum field adaptation ready, Kell reported from the Star Weaver. But our calculations suggest this has never been attempted. The energy requirements will be met, Chen finished. Humanity built the Horizon to handle the impossible. Now, let's prove it. The next few minutes were a dance of precision and power. The Horizon's brute force approach provided the foundation. creating a bubble of stable space-time through sheer energy output. The Star Weaver's quantum technologies worked within this bubble, their subtle manipulations refining and strengthening the effect. Multiple singularities converging. Rodriguez warned. Impact in 30 seconds. Chen watched as the viewing screen showed the approaching gravitational anomalies, each one capable of shredding a lesser ship. Lyra, are your people ready? We stand together. Admiral, came the response, the luminary leader's voice carrying a new tone. Respect mixed with determination. The impact came like a wave of invisible force. The Horizon's hull groaned under stresses it was never designed to handle. Warning lights flashed across every console as systems were pushed far beyond their safety limits. But the ship held. Within the Star Weaver, luminary quantum engineers worked in perfect synchronization with their human counterparts, their combined technologies creating something entirely new. A hybrid defense that was neither brute force nor subtle manipulation, but something greater than both. Singularities dissipating. Rodriguez reported, relief evident in his voice. Whatever we did, it worked. As the danger passed, both crews took stock of what they had accomplished. The Horizon's power systems were strained to their limits, and the Star Weaver's quantum fields would need significant recalibration. But they had survived something that should have destroyed them both. Admiral. First speaker Lyra's image appeared on the main screen, her crystalline features glowing with a new pattern the humans had never seen before. We owe you and your crew our lives. We had always seen your ship's power as excessive, its defenses as oversized. Today, we understand. Sometimes, survival requires both strength and subtlety. Chen smiled, looking around at her exhausted but proud crew. And sometimes, first speaker, the strongest defense isn't a weapon at all. It's the willingness to trust each other. As repair crews from both ships worked together to restore their systems, something fundamental had changed in the relationship between humans and Luminary. They had faced the impossible together and emerged stronger. Their different approaches to surviving space's dangers had combined to create something new, a partnership that promised to revolutionize how both species explored the stars. The crisis had proven what both sides were beginning to suspect. The future of space exploration would not belong to those who chose either power or finesse, but to those who learned to use both in harmony. 6 months after the crisis, the EOS Horizon floated in high orbit above the luminary homeworld. The massive human vessel no longer drew fearful stares from passing ships. Instead, it had become a symbol of a new era in space exploration. Admiral Chen stood in the ship's newly redesigned observation deck, watching as construction crews from both species worked on something unprecedented, a hybrid vessel that combined human resilience with luminary quantum engineering. Its hull gleamed with the flowing metal characteristic of luminary ships, but underneath lay the multiple redundancies and robust systems that humans had learned to rely on. The Unity project progresses well, first speaker Lyra observed, her crystalline form catching the light of her world's twin suns. Though I must admit, convincing our council to install so many backup systems was challenging. No more challenging than convincing Earth's Space Administration to reduce our standard hull thickness in favor of your quantum fields. Chen replied with a smile. Change isn't easy for either of our species. They watched as a team of human engineers, wearing modified versions of luminary biosuits, worked alongside their crystalline counterparts. The new technology they were developing wasn't just a merger of their different approaches, it was something entirely new. Your Dr. Wang's cultural exchange program has been particularly successful, Lyra noted. Our young ones are fascinated by human concepts of over-engineering and redundancy, while your students seem equally captivated by our quantum harmonics. Below them, the prototype vessel's quantum core pulsed with power, a perfect fusion of human fusion technology and luminary space-time manipulation. It represented not just a technological breakthrough, but a philosophical one. The recognition that there was no single right way to conquer the challenges of space. We've received the data from the long-range expeditions, Chen said, pulling up a holographic display. The combined human luminary crews are exploring further and safer than either of our species managed alone. Your quantum navigation with our defensive capabilities. We're charting regions of space we once thought impossible to reach. Lyra's features glowed with what humans now recognize as profound satisfaction. And your Academy's latest safety protocols, integrated with our quantum awareness systems, have reduced spacecraft accidents to nearly zero across both our fleets. It seems we needed each other's perspectives more than either side realized. The observation deck's door slid open, admitting Captain Maya Patel and Science Observer Kel. Both wore the new hybrid environmental suits that had become standard for joint operations, symbolizing how far they'd come from those first fearful encounters. The Unity's quantum shield generators just passed final testing, Maya reported. 200% more efficient than our traditional shields, with only a quarter of the power requirement. And the structural integrity field, Kel added, his crystalline face pulsing with excitement, provides redundancy we never thought to include in our designs. We can now safely navigate even severe gravitational distortions. Chen and Lyra shared a knowing look. What had started as a fearful first contact had evolved into something remarkable, a partnership that made both civilizations stronger. The Council has approved the Joint Exploration Initiative, Lyra announced. A fleet of hybrid ships, crewed by both our peoples, will begin pushing into the unknown regions beyond our combined territories. Exploring together, Chen nodded. As equals, each bringing our own strengths to face whatever challenges way out there. As they spoke, the prototype vessel below them activated its quantum drive. The sight was beautiful, human engineering providing the foundation for luminary artistry, brute force, and elegant efficiency working in perfect harmony. The ship's name, displayed in both human and luminary script along its hull, caught the starlight. Unity. We feared you at first, Lyra admitted, watching the prototype perform its maneuvers. Your massive ships, your overwhelming power generation, your layers of redundant systems. We thought they revealed a species obsessed with warfare. And we thought your elegant ships were fragile, Chen responded. We couldn't understand how you survived without the safeguards we considered essential. We both had much to learn. The lesson hadn't just changed how they built ships. It had changed how both species viewed the universe and their place in it. Humans learned that not every problem required overwhelming force to solve, while the luminary discovered that sometimes elegance needed to be balanced with resilience. As the Unity completed its test flight, its hybrid systems performing beyond all expectations, Chen reflected on how far they'd come. The fearful first contact that had nearly ended in disaster had instead opened the door to humanity's greatest adventure yet. Together, humans and luminary were forging a path to the stars that neither could have managed alone. The bridge of understanding they had built would carry both their peoples forward into a future limited only by their combined imagination. And somewhere out there in the vast unknown, new challenges waited. Challenges they would face together, with both the strength of humanity and the grace of the luminary lighting their way.